Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Safety Systems. Summer is vacation time, and if you want to feel better about your home while you're away, call VFL JJ Surlis and the team at Safety Systems. No one has a better track record, offers better contracts, or gives you better service than Safety Systems. I know because I've used them. SafetySystems.com to learn more. Okay, let's put up a graphic here. Most damage done. Now, we're just going back since we launched this show, 2023. All right, so over the last 20 years, and some of these guys all inflicted damage. It's kind of going to depend on how you grade them. Philip Fulmer, since we went on the air, he was 49-27. That is the best winning percentage of any of these coaches. He was 5-7 his last year, but he also came back, and you have to determine if you weigh this too. He came back as AD, hired Jeremy Pruitt, and led to the NCAA stuff. Lane Kiffin, he was 7-6, not bad, but he was only here for 1 year, and he left right before signing day, which kind of sent you into a tizzy and submarine to signing class. Next, Marlon's favorite guy, Derek Dooley. He was 15-21 at Tennessee. That last team he had went 5-7. He wasn't there for the final game, but they went 5-7. He had his most famous achievement, aside from his press conferences, was the signing class with 0 offensive linemen in it. Butch Jones, second winningest percentage up there to Philip Fulmer at 34-27. His last team finished 4-8. He wasn't there for the last 2 losses. Most famous for, well, guys falling over their helmets, Butchisms, you name it. And then finally, Jeremy Pruitt, you see the corrected. That is what the official book says now. He was 5-19, his final year 0-7. Reality, they were 3-7, and then he left them with the NCAA stuff. Almost said something else there. So most damage was done by who on that list? Chuck.
Well, I think you're tempted to say Pruitt because of what's happened, but to me that's mitigated a little bit by Josh Heupel coming in and what he was able to do.
No. We're just looking at what you
they
left.
did,
What the mess you made. Who made the bigger mess over the last 20 years?
I think it was Derek Dooley. I mean, I really do. I mean, the 0 offensive linemen, the lack of interpersonal skills. You could make a case for just about everybody on there. But speaking for Marlon Walls, my good friend, I'll say Derek Dooley.
I see it as a 2-man race, and he ain't in the 2-man.
He ain't in the 2-man.
What are you doing?
Dooley's actually my answer too. That roster was nowhere close to where it needed to be from an NFL talent standpoint, and I think that offensive line deal was a major issue. He left a really good line for 2013, but they were all going to the NFL, and they all had to be replaced, and Dooley didn't do anything to help with that. I would say Pruitt, if not for the fact that the break that they caught of the timing of the COVID eligibility, which left a bunch of NFL-level players to come back for another year and mitigate the scholarship issue that they had to deal with. So they self-imposed penalties that were replaced by NFL-level guys like Velus Jones and Matthew Butler, so and Hendon Hooker at quarterback. So I think Derek Dooley, what he left behind was the biggest mess to deal with.
Okay, Jimmy?
Pruitt. The others didn't leave behind an NCAA mess. So I'm going to go with
Fulmer did.
Well,
it depends on if you count him. Does he get counted as just a coach, or do you count him as coach and AD? I would say double dipped.
he was not implicated, which I said earlier surprised me on the NCAA stuff.
Yeah, he also oversaw. Okay,
Yeah.
I would go Fulmer or Pruitt.
But see, I'm going with Pruitt also because he made Fulmer look bad. You heard that guy? What were you thinking? No, I'm going to go with Pruitt. And the NCAA thing weighs heavily with me. It also weighs heavily with me the way he treated some of the people that were here. Just the way and we even heard when Josh Heupel took over, right? Players didn't even want to go to practice. They didn't want to go in the building. Yeah. I thought he left just a disastrous situation. So I'm gonna go with Pruitt.
Yeah. I think the case I could make for Dooley isn't really. Here's the deal. My problem with Dooley is you shouldn't have hired him in the first place.
Exactly.
That was a panicky goofball. Anybody. Who would have hired a 4-8 coach from Louisiana Tech? That was absolute madness. Who thought that was going to work?
That's Lane Kiffin's fault for leaving.
Well, see, and Dooley's a dunce. I just didn't see him. The NCAA thing, there are 2 guys. Kiffin almost got you in NCAA trouble.
Right, and if it stayed longer, he would have probably.
But it was Pruitt left you an NCAA issue, and you've been dealing with 3 years of bad pub that whole time, negative recruiting. You've lost scholarships. Heupel worked around it, but I just think that's hard to overcome. And then if you want to count Fulmer because the program wasn't in great shape when he left, first time when he got fired. You had 2 losing seasons in 4 years. Then he comes back. If you wanted to go back by who you spent more money on buyouts for, probably be Fulmer. I'm trying to think what Butch got at the end of that compared to what Fulmer
$8
got.
million?
Yeah, well, it was,
I think Fulmer topped that, didn't he? With his
He got
UT departure.
With the two
With the
departments.
two,
He got
yeah.
$6 million the
Yeah.
first time and then the second time.
Pruitt's probably the right answer. I do feel
Yeah.
like Dooley's skated over time because Butch was so disliked by the time he left, and Pruitt's understandable issues that you're talking about. So part of it is don't forget what was going on there when Dooley departed. But you're also right. It's not his fault
The
that
Dooley departed.
Yeah.
the Dooley department.
It's not his fault that he was offered a job that he had to take, even though he wasn't qualified for
It's
it.
just a stupid hire.
Boy, I miss those orange pants. So.
But here's the one interesting thing, though. Who's the most disliked out of those guys? I think it just is, not Dooley.
I think it's Butch Jones, yeah.
Even now,
Yeah.
over Pruitt?
Well,
I still don't understand that.
Hey,
I
that's a
don't-
poll question you need to put
I
out.
think, there you go. Thanks, Jimmy. See, now we got a poll. We'll ask you next week. All right. When we come back, a surprise exit for the UT basketball team as a recent transfer has become a more recent transfer out. Come on back on the Sports Source.